Welcome to the ABW Project. My name is January Donovan, founder of The Art of Being a Woman. Here in ABW, we practice how to be a woman. Today's lesson is how to study ourselves. Why is it so important for us to study ourselves? I'm going to walk you through a process and explain to you why. You don't have to answer right now. So let's begin. I want you to think about what we study in our culture. Okay, what do we study? We study things, right? So we study our environment, the plants, because we have medicine, or we study the roads, the construction, how it's built, and because of that, we're able to build roads. Or we study concepts, and the radio, the internet, the airplane. I mean, if you think about what these inventions and how it has changed and really transformed our culture, and what the men had to do in order to be able to create it. You know, just think of the Wright brothers and think how many times did they process it, figure it out, take things apart, put into context all this information to create something such as an airplane. What else do we study? We study people. Okay, doctors. I mean, it's fascinating how far we've come in our medical field, studying people. How would this world be different if we knew how to study ourselves? How would our stories change? And how would the blueprint of our culture change if we knew how to study ourselves? What can you create? What can you be if you knew how to study yourself? Just like we create these amazing things. Just amazing. I mean, it's fascinating what people have been doing through studying things. So I'm going to take you and walk you through our setting right now. What's our culture like? Okay, so it's fast, right? It's fast. More is good. It's distracting. And not a lot of people are really showing us how. Let me further explain this through an exercise or an example. So place yourself as a high school girl or as a little tiny girl, right? So you're sitting into your science class and you're saying, oh, I'm learning about the forefathers. That's great, that's amazing. Bell rings. You're off to your science or you're off to your math class, okay? So there's, 7 subjects that we're learning right now when we go to school. And then you come home, there's a lot more expected of us. You have 3 hours of homework, and you've got a game, and you've got activities, and there's a lot of things going on, okay? You've had so much information, 7 subjects given to you, and nobody's teaching you how to process the information that we've been given so that that information can actually transform who we are. Right now, fast forward, we're reading, we're getting the news, we're listening to the music. We are just receiving all this information. Unless somebody has purposely taught us how to process the information that we're receiving, there's a good chance we're just going to get overwhelmed. We don't know what to do with this information. Nobody's teaching us how to process the information that we're receiving, okay? It's coming at us. There's so much going on. Now, why is it so important for us to study ourselves? Okay, I am going to walk you through my own story, okay? Number one, it is so important for us to understand and know our story because it's going to be hard to love something we actually don't know, okay? So self-love. When we don't know ourselves, there's a lack of clarity, okay? Clarity produces a lot of anxiety. When we don't know and we can't pinpoint, everything's coming at us, there's a lot of anxiety. Well, of course, we don't even know where to begin. And we're overwhelmed with all the information that we're supposed to process in a world that's going a million miles an hour. When we know how to study ourselves, we learn to love ourselves, we learn to clarify and distinguish, and we give ourselves what? options, right? We can actually write our story and says, okay, I'm not stuck. We can change something about this. Let me paint this picture for you. So family history, family origin, a lot of adultery in my family. I saw it, I saw the pains of it, and it always bothered me as a little girl. Now, I did a lot of processing in college of this wound. I was very well aware of it and did a lot of internal work. Fast forward, I'm married. First year of marriage, my husband and I are walking in the mall, and we pass by Victoria's Secrets. And very clearly, my husband turns away from Victoria's Secrets and starts playing with my hair. And I'm like, I asked him later on, and I said, did you do that on purpose? Were you purposely walking away and looking away from this half, almost naked picture of a woman? And he said, yes. I said, why? He said, because I knew it was a wound, and I knew how that hurt you in the past. So I'm just going to be aware of it. My husband was able to love me tenderly in my wound. Let me paint an opposite picture. If I didn't know and I didn't recognize that wound in my heart, chances are I would have been annoyed at him for maybe not realizing he's looking at this picture. Maybe he's not, and my husband's very faithful, so he's not looking at other women. But even if he passes by, because I'm so sensitive about it, I'll probably get an anxiety, and then I'll get annoyed about it, and I don't know why I'm annoyed, and then that tomorrow it happens again. And it becomes this vicious cycle where we don't know what hurts us or the wounds that have caused this pain. So by understanding and realizing that I was able to distinguish, you know what? That's actually a source of wound for me. And I told him earlier in our marriage that that was a wound for him. So he is helping me manage it. He's aware of it, and he loves me right there. And he says, no, we're going to do this together. I know that spot, and don't worry, I'll take care of it. And I have to manage that wound to make sure that I'm also taking care of my heart and giving myself options. Okay, so how do we do this, and why is it so important? Once again, it's really hard to love something we don't know how to love. And the recognition of how to love ourselves and how to create relationships based on love, based on clarity, where you're a partner, you're doing it together. So let me walk you through an exercise that I was walked through when I was in college, and it's very simple. And here's my handy dandy index card, and 5 minutes, you put it right next to your bed, or you have it next to you or a desk. Okay, so here's my little index card. I always put a date, and you write on top, just this box right here, you write what you want and what you don't want. What this does is it clarifies for us what we want and what we don't want as we go through our day, because sometimes there's no time to think about 5 minutes. Let me give you an example. I want my husband to know that I want my husband to love me and me alone. I don't want him checking out other women in our relationship. That tells me that I love you, honey, but somebody else might be better for me. That's not okay. I know what's not okay, and I can communicate what's not okay. We can hold people accountable because we recognize what's okay and what's not okay. I don't want my boss chewing me out in front of other people and embarrassing me. I can do something about it. I pull my boss aside and says, you know what, actually, if you have something that you need to address, pull me aside. That's what I prefer, and that's respectable. We can recognize what we want and we don't want if we have clarity. And then we don't put ourselves in the corner, and we give ourselves options. We can learn to communicate. Okay? I don't like it that I'm stressed. I want to be able to live peacefully. Okay, how do I do that? We can start to recognize these questions in our story, and all we need to do is to just do this. 5 minutes. You get home from work, or sometimes I do this when I feel like something's off. And I continue to do it. I study myself, I'm learning, and I'm learning and relearning. So let's give an opportunity for us to study ourselves and see and imagine what kind of a woman are you going to be if you knew your capacity and who you are. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me and walk with me. I'm grateful to take this journey with you.